Hey guys, we're jumping in it today looking at chapter 5, and we're asking ourselves questions about Peter, about Fudge, and remember, we're doing all of this in rap, okay? So think back to the model video that you watched today about what rap is, how to use rap, and basically what we're going to do is I'm just going to walk through here, show you what I said, and kind of help you figure out if you're on the right track or not, okay? So we know that when we're reading this passage, I'm going to underline all this in orange because that's what my text clues are going to be. That's where my evidence comes from. When I'm reading through this, I am looking for three things: what he's saying, what is he thinking, what is he doing. Those are the three things I am looking for. So let's read through here and see if we can't find some. So at 5 after 1, we were ready to begin. We had an eater, a biter, and a crier at Fudge's birthday party. I thought that 2:30 would never come. I also thought my mother was slightly crazy for dreaming up the party in the first place. I couldn't help but think, man, I would rather be at Jimmy's house right now. All right, so remember, we're looking for things that he says, things he does, things he thinks. No, he doesn't say anything. And remember, we know that when characters say something, like if this is text, it is surrounded by the quotation marks, and that helps us see if they're saying anything. And the character's not saying anything here, so I don't have anything like that to look for. But I can think about what he's thinking, and look what it says right here. I couldn't help but think, man, I would rather be at Jimmy's house right now. He also says right here, thought that 2:30 would never come, okay? And so now I have to ask myself, what's he doing? Well, he's at a birthday party, so I know that. I can kind of think about that to myself. There's nothing here for me to underline, but we've read the chapter. We know the context of what's going on. He's at a birthday party. So now that I know what he has said, which he didn't say anything, I know what he's thought, which is what I'm really going to rely on here, and I know what he's doing. He's at his little brother's birthday party with an eater, a biter, and a crier. I can try and make an inference. Now, we know that with the R, we're going to restate the question. Here's my question. How is Peter feeling based on this passage? Peter is feeling. Okay, I took those words straight from my question right here. Okay, and I'm just putting them into a statement. And then I'm going to make my inference that he's annoyed. Because remember, when we stop and we ask ourselves, what did he say? What did he think? What did he do? Then we have to stop and ask ourselves, how would I be feeling? When I am at a place that I don't want to be at, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for 2:30 to come. I would rather be at my friend's house, and I know that he's surrounded by a bunch of little kids, and they're crying, and there's a biter, and there's a kid who just can't stop eating, and he's already over Fudge. Then I can make the inference that Peter is probably pretty annoyed. I know that I would be annoyed in this situation. So then what I'm going to do, kiddos, is I'm going to use that evidence that I underlined while I was reading, and I'm just going to put it into my P. And remember, I always start off with, in the text it said, and then I take word for word from the passage straight into my answer. I thought that 2:30 would never come, and I couldn't help but think, that should say think. There we go. I couldn't help but think, man, I would rather be at Jimmy's house right now. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one that I had you guys do. Oop, gotta clear my stuff. There we go. All right. Okay, so again, we're looking for Mrs. Hatcher. How is she feeling? So I'm looking for those three things. What does she say? What does she think? What does she do? All right, let's get into it and see what we can find. It was 2:30 and the party was finally over. My mother flopped down in a chair. That's what she did, right? Grandma brought her 2 aspirins and a glass of water. Here, dear, she said, maybe these will help. And then look at what she does here. She swallowed the pills. She held her head. She swallowed the pills. She held her head and started to massage her eyes. Okay, so let's ask ourselves, does Mrs. Hatcher say anything here? No, the grandma does, but Mrs. Hatcher doesn't. Okay, does she think anything here? Well, we're sure that she does, but because this story is told from Peter's point of view, we don't get inside knowledge about what Mrs. Hatcher is thinking. So I don't have any thoughts to help me, but I do have a lot of actions. And actions, kiddos, can help us figure out how characters are feeling? Okay, so I see that she's flopped down in a chair. She's got to swallow some aspirin. She's holding her head. She's massaging her eyes. So now that I have my clues, I got to think about my background knowledge. What do I know about someone who's probably tired, right? She's just done a party with a bunch of 3-year-olds. She flopped down in a chair. She's taking aspirin. She's massaging her eyes, holding her head. What do we think Mrs. Hatcher is feeling? I think she's exhausted, okay? Overwhelmed even maybe. So then I'm going to take what I think and I'm going to put it into rap. It says, is Mrs. Hatcher feeling? I used those words right here in my restate. Mrs. Hatcher is feeling. I'm going to answer it with my inference, overwhelmed or exhausted. Either something like that would work just fine. And then I take what I highlighted in my passage and I plug it in word for word into my answer using the sentence stem in the text it said. Okay, kiddos? Now, if yours did not look like this, okay, if you're not restating the way I'm restating, if you're not answering the way that I'm answering, if your text evidence is not word for word, if you're not using in the text it said, then we need to really go back and watch my model. Maybe keep this video as a good model and make sure that tomorrow as we work, that's what we're working on, okay? All right, guys, you got 2 things I need you to do for me. First, I want you to leave me a private comment on this assignment, and I want you to tell me how you think you did. Did your answers sound like my answers? Are you understanding what we're doing? Do you feel like you need help? Okay? And then I want you to go complete the exit ticket that is on Google Classroom. Your agenda will have the name of the exit ticket. I need you to go find it on Google Classroom and complete it for me. All right, kiddos, thanks so much for working hard, and I can't wait to see you next time.